Hey everybody, we are back for phase two of the garage cabinet project. Phase one are those cabinets right up behind me, and finished those about a month or so ago. But it started raining and it didn't stop. We got over our yearly average of 24 inches in less than 3 weeks. Lost power 4 times, once for 2 days solid. Pretty much had the generator going, and so needless to say, haven't made much progress. But today we got some sunshine and they're calling for a break in the weather. So back to the project, and phase two is this area right here. So I just demoed the sink, pulled out an old plastic utility sink that was there, cleared out some stuff. So the plan is to put 2 cabinets in there. Probably going to have to change my original dimensions and thoughts, because I'm going to make a sink cabinet and then right next to it a storage cabinet. And I don't want that sink cabinet, I don't want to have to move faucets or drains around. So probably going to have to change the dimensions to fit what I've got here for that, which would affect the dimensions for the other one. So anyway, it's going to be fun. Here we go. So here's the approximate position of where I want this new sink. And so I had to widen out. I sketched in pencil about the limits of what I think the cabinet's going to do. So I want it to be wide enough to include the water valves. And the other reason for doing this is I'm not a plumber, so I wanted to see what the offset was. I don't want to mess with pulling out that replacing that trap. I want to use the same thing, and so I called my plumber, told him what the approximate offset was in inches laterally and vertically, and he said it should be no problem. So I didn't want to make a cabinet and then find out from my plumber that it wasn't going to work. So looks like that's go, and let's go to the drawing board. Here we go. So this is the redesign. I made the sink cabinet wider, so the valves for the water, you can get to them in this cabinet instead of one valve in this cabinet and one in this. So made it a little bit wider, and I decided to make this one the exact same width, so it'll be easier to cut the pieces for it and make them both at the same time. And then I went ahead in OptiCutter and I've got 2 new sheets plus 2 scraps. And so I entered the scraps in there and a full new sheet, and that should do it. So I'll make use of the scraps that I've got, and I'll have a full sheet left over for another project. Here are the cut tabletops. So this is the edge that's going to be showing right here. And my original idea was to cut this a little short and then face it with some pine, so you wouldn't have to look at the end grain of the plywood. But I think this is going to be easier. So I had these pieces of molding in my scraps. So I'm just going to trim this up on the table saw so that it's the same thickness as the plywood, and should be good. That's the plan. right, doing a dry fit of the pieces to make sure I didn't mess something up before I start drilling holes and so on and so forth. And so you're looking at the bottom. So this piece is going to get cut out right here, and same on the other side for a toe kick. There'll be a toe kick plate that goes in right there. And then this is one of the doors, so it's fitting. Might have to shave off a little on the top to get it to fit on underneath this thing, but it should be good. So the only issue is this was cut. Either this piece was cut a little low or this was cut a little high. But either way, I'm gonna have to shave that down. This side looks like it's pretty decent. So other than that, it fits. I tugged it around on both corners until I finally got the corner to corner and corner to corner measurements to match up, so it's square. On to the next task. Here is one of the cabinet tops, the underside of it, and I used my dado stack to cut out space for the backing board and for some nail rails. But it's not designed to go through this edge, so I stopped it there, and then I'm going to just use some chisels to kind of chisel that excess out. Here we go. So for today, I'm going to be cutting out the little notches in the bottom of the sides, one on each side. This is going to be the front, so this is going to be the toe kick right here. And then this is in the back, same 4" by 4" cutout, just using a jigsaw along with a edge guide. And the back is to make sure the cabinet's clear a protrusion in the garage foundation. So that's what I'm doing today. All right, it is pocket hole jig time. All right, all the pocket holes have been drilled, and one of the cabinets is going to have a shelf on it, the cabinet without the sink. So I'm going to pre-drill the holes for the shelf hangers next. Okay, time for a little sanding with 220 grit. Clean these things up, and then we're going to be ready to join them up tomorrow morning, hopefully. But before I can assemble the cabinets, I've got to get the tops of the cabinets ready, because they're going to have polyurethane on them, and the sides of the cabinets are not, and I need to cut a hole in one of them for the sink. And since I've never done that before, I want to practice on this piece of scrap. And I also want to, once it's in there, I want to take it into the garage and make sure that I'm putting the sink where I want to put it, so I can visualize it in there. So I just flip the sink over and trace the outside edge of this lip, and then the measurement from here to here is a ½ inch or an inch. So I just came back and put in a concentric oval shape that's a ½ inch off, and I'm going to cut to there, and hopefully that'll work. Well, that was a useful exercise. I learned that this hole that I built, or that I cut, is pretty wide. I can probably make it smaller so that thing fits in there a little better. I like the sink a little bit more over to the left than I had originally anticipated. And last but not least, I read the directions, and the sink manufacturer said, be careful, the edges are sharp, and I thought that was just CYA language, and I'm not kidding. Sliced my finger a little bit on that, getting it in there, but I think it was a good use of time. These are the tops to the floor cabinets. cut out the sink using that template thing that I showed you earlier. Just put a coat of polyurethane on it. Going to light sand it with 220 after it dries, and repeat and rinse, and put at least 3 coats on. We'll see how it looks after 3 coats are on. I may go more. All right, today was a good day. I got to make one of the cabinets. This is the one without the sink. You're looking at the top, has about 4 coats of polyurethane on it. And so the cabinet right now is lying face down. A little tougher to put together because of the gap down here. And that's this opening, this slot, this gap is where the cabinet doors are gonna go. So I temporarily set all the pieces in these corner clamps just to get them all up there, and then put the strap clamps on, and was able to pull these things out and just rest it on these blocks. So when I first assembled it, put a couple of screws in there to hold it together. It was a little out of square, so put this clamp on. So for example, let's assume that this measurement from here to here was 43 inches. And the measurement from that corner to that corner was 42. I put this clamp on, squeezed it until the measurement from there to there was 42.5, or the average of the 2 corners. Can't measure this corner because the clamp's in the way, but that's how you do it, or at least that's how I do. You can also get a look. So that's the kind of the notch I made. So here's the backing plate, and then I'm going to put some nail rails, 1/2 inch thick nail rails along there, so that'll be fully hidden. And then put the doors on, and this one should be done. And time for the big reveal. There it is, all finished. So the countertops, typically people make those using melamine or some sort of other more water resistant material, but I had the plywood. I just put some polyurethane on them, make them a little more waterproof. My plumber out here to hook the sink up, and these things are all full. So here's the molding that I used to cover up the end grain in the plywood, and then I put these handles on because I couldn't bevel the top like we did on the last one. I didn't talk about the hinges in this, but you can go to one of the other videos, either 1 or 2, I can't remember which one it is, that shows how to put those hinges on, but they're the same hinges, put in the same way. So easy closing. There's the toe kick down there, and there's a toe kick in the back for where the foundation sticks out. And so you can see we've kind of got this already filled up with stuff, and it works great. So it's recessed a little bit farther in because I wanted to have some room in the front to do some things, and I'm going to build a cover to go over the top of that sink since we rarely use it, to make even more space to put stuff on, put more junk. All right, so on to the next job.